All right, look, tonight we're going to start a segment I'm calling America's Comeback, because I'm just dead tired of hearing all the bad-mouthing of the American economy, about how somehow we've become this second-rate economic power. Look, we got all the ingredients we need. We can rebuild our economy right here, right now, without the government's help. We know that for sure. So we're going to talk about this week a lot of good news that you're not hearing about our economy, about millions of Americans starting new businesses, almost record growth, how the power of, creative destruction is converting old economy companies and regions into 21st century companies. And here's a news flash, okay? Companies are doing better than what you hear. And our next guest, Brian Hamilton, can prove it. He runs a service, Sageworks, that collects private data from private companies, puts it all together, and can make a roadmap of what's going on in private companies. And full disclosure, I used to do this years ago, and nobody was interested when I did it. I'm glad to see you're doing well with this, Brian. But in private companies, we are seeing profits per employee, and some of your data show that profits per employee are up at record rates. Those profits maybe are not being invested as much because people are a little worried about the future, but the picture is not bleak, right? The picture is pretty strong.
Yeah, good point. Not terrible, and that's been going on for about 18 months. But remember, though, Tobin, one thing about that, we got to get that accurate, or as accurate as we can get it. Profit per employee is up, revenue per employee is up, but again, there's fewer employees, so it's a little bit misleading. However, the big picture is the most important one. Revenue per company for private companies is up, and that's always the biggest driver, so that's terrific.
Well, in looking at your numbers, private companies are obviously the ones where we grow the most jobs. They're the actual job creators. Right. Profits, hiring usually follows profits. What have you learned, or what are you distilling that says we have high profits per employee, but we're not, really going after new employees? What's going to get us over that hurdle?
That's perfect. And no one knows. It's a great question. Nobody knows. I wouldn't be on here if I knew the answer. I'd be everywhere, right? I mean, nobody knows the answer to that.
Give it a try.
The truth is there's a bit of a lag, and historically it's a long lag, a very long lag, about 24 months, where profits up, revenue's up, but why are people not hiring people? And no one really knows the answer to that. That's the question.
All right. So one of the, you have gone through a lot of your data, and we have a new chairman now of the economic policy, Mr. Kruger. He's made the case recently, like 3 or 4 years ago, that if you raise the wage, the minimum rate, that somehow that's going to create jobs. Now, I was a UCLA guy, and, there was some really sort of simple stuff that you learned. I never learned that ever in any economics course I ever went to.
Yeah, well, I didn't learn that at Duke either, by the way. So the truth is, we know that raising a minimum wage is not going to increase jobs. There's no question about it. I don't know what the historical context of his comment was, but we know that's not accurate. Right now, we've got 27 million people running businesses, 27 million privately held companies. There's only 5,000 publicly traded firms. Those 27 million companies create 70 to 80% of new jobs. So we don't want to mess with them. We want to keep regulation as low as we can, keep things safe, but keep it low. We want them to be comfortable, and then they'll start hiring people.
Well, we got some job numbers today. We got spending numbers today that were pretty good. And then, the unemployment rate certainly has not improved, but the Dow Jones has, given us quite a comeback here. We feel like stuff is moving in the right direction, not as fast as anybody wants, but coming out of a recession that comes from a financial catastrophe, we really should not expect to see 4 or 5% growth, should we?
Not yet, although I'll say this. Look, I mean, you look back through 200 years of history, and I will say it's very rare when you have a recession and then you have a recovery that's this weak.
Yeah.
So we've got some good numbers. I don't want to be gloom and doom, no question about it. But the recovery is weak. I mean, we've got 1% GDP growth. That's nothing to write home about. And so that is concerning. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and what do you think of Alan Kruger here? He comes off to me sort of as like another academic who comes in and like is working on a laboratory pulling levers and stuff. Am I being harsh?
Yeah, well, look, I don't know. The jury's out. I will say he said a couple of positive things. I love the idea of the administration, of everyone in the country getting focused. What is the biggest concern right now? We know what it is. Job creation. So he's talking about maybe giving some tax incentives to small businesses. That would be terrific. There's mixed messages, though. Those guys got to get their act straight. They got to get their message straight. It's not good if you're a Republican. It's not good if you're a Democrat. It's good for everybody to stay focused on job creation, because 9% unemployment is way too high. And remember, Tobin, that's a misleading number, because 9% are unemployed, but what about all the people who are not even on those, are counted in that role? That might be another 3 or 4%.
Right.
So
well, give us something to be optimistic about, because this week's about optimism. And, you know, we always have problems. We always have had, you know, earth-shattering issues that we somehow, give us some optimism.
Sure. All right, well, here's number one, big picture. Americans are good business people. We need to remember that. If you go back over 150 years, we've got 4 years of expansionary economy for every year of recession. That's a pretty good batting average, right? So we do well. We really do well. And the other thing, another big picture item, is private company revenue is up. If that number keeps going up and up and up, all these 27 million business people are going to start hiring people. They're going to have to do that. They just haven't done it to date.
All right, let's hold it there. You got me. You had me at 27 million entrepreneurs. It's great to have you on. Keep doing what you're doing. Come back and tell us some more good news, would you?
Sounds great.
All right, look at On Deck.